morning, Rapid Sickos. It's 9:30 in Colorado, and we're already doing a live show. How are you feeling, Duane?
Man, I am ready. I am ready. Ready.
Honestly, man, since we're doing it so early, it should be like a couple of friends sitting down, grabbing a cup of coffee. In your case, a Diet Coke. In my case, a Red Bull.
We need a coffee sponsor.
We do. We used to have one.
I know, the
I don't know what
CBD
happened.
one. It was cool.
I used to love it. By the way, the person I'm talking to behind the scenes today is Miss Tiffany Hernandez. Tiffany.
What's up, guys?
Want to start off the show. Just one more condolences to Mitch. I'm sending good vibes out to our guy, co-host, friend. Some might call him our best friend. Hope that he's doing well. We really appreciate everything he's done for us, and we just hope that he can kind of get through this tough spot right now, and just kind of hoping him the best all the way through.
Got some texts from Mitch this morning. That was awesome.
I know, it was really nice.
I was like, oh man, Mitch, let's go.
It was kind of it felt like old days when he just sent us things that he's heard around the league and stuff like that, and we just kind of get information, and we're like, wow, I hope he's doing okay. That was my first thought. Wow, This is great that he's able to just keep going. Today we're just going to be kind of talking about preseason again, a little bit of knee-jerk reactions, this time the other way. We're going to hit the Lamine Diack transfer rumor that he might be coming. And then at the end, we're going to be answering your guys' questions. We have a mailbag. There might be some breaking news in the middle of this that we might have to pivot a little bit. But it's going to be a great show. We're going to have a lot of fun. I spent last night just making a huge rundown. And I don't even know if we're going to get to half of it today.
We got a lot to talk about today.
Look, a little bit of house cleaning first. Let's talk about Miguel Navarro. He's out of here. He's heading to Talleres out in Argentina, I believe it is. What are kind of your first thoughts on it? What are favorite moments of Miguel Navarro in Burgundy and Blue?
Remember that time when Miguel was on the Rapids? That was awesome. No, I'm good with it. I mean, look, this off season has been wild.
Yeah.
It's been easily the most fun Rapids off season that I can remember.
Oh, easily.
There were some surprises coming in. Some of those surprises were players like Sammy Vines coming back. And when those players come back, not everybody, it's weird because we actually are in a rare position of having too many players that need minutes. And so if it's an opportunity for somebody like Miguel to not just put him on the bench, or get him in R2 where we're trying to develop some of the even younger talent coming through, then to be able to loan him, get him somewhere where he can get some like solid quality minutes. One, it gives the Rapids more insight, more scouting, if you will, on whether or not he's going to fit in with the Colorado Rapids, with the first team. And two, it just helps him to develop way more than he will going to practice every week and then sitting on the bench when it comes time to get, meaningful match day minutes, which isn't going to happen for him with the current squad we have. Like, it's unfortunate. Like, I think, the signing was good at the time, but then like the talent, the competition at that position got more and more. And so we still have him. So now we can do something that's good for him. He gets minutes. It's good for the club because they get to see how Miguel plays. Is he going to be a good fit for the Rapids? And so I think it's a smart move.
And also Miguel wants an opportunity to play because he's trying to get to the World Cup.
Sure.
He's trying to be part of that Venezuelan starting lineup or even final roster for that. That's every player's dream, to represent your country at the greatest stage. So to me, it makes sense for all parties. And at the end of the day, if the Rapids can make a little bit of money and you just kind of basically traded players and Gutman and Navarro, and this does have an option to buy at the end of it, it's worth it. And if he comes back, you just have more depth, right? It creates a good logjam at some point.
Yeah, there's no bad. There's no bad situation for this. Like, the player gets minutes, the club gets to scout him, if they want to keep him, the club will get some dough out of it and put that back into the club. So
yeah, and just kind of knocking on wood a little bit. Let's say something does happen to Sammy. We don't want him to get any injuries. Let's say he gets a little knocked up. Maybe you can recall him with a little bit of option to buy at the end of it still, and then just send him back to Sayedis and be like, hey, we need some help on our left back. There's kind of part of the deal. Like, it's kind of insurance a little bit at the end of the day. It's a rare move to happen in soccer where you have an option to buy and then you recall the player and then put him back out there. But again, it's still flexibility. It's a little bit. And then they do have Gershbach, who came in last year, and I don't think it was up to par. Maybe a year with Rapids too. Yeah. And kind of getting healthy again will really help him crack that rotation. But you also have a young kid who I know a lot of people are impressed in, Jackson Travis. And that just opens the door and the pathway for him to kind of get going and maybe find a spot as well. Like maybe he can land in the rotation and you have another Rapids homegrown out there with Sammy, Seb, Ali, Bassett, and all these guys that have been killing it.
You got Nate Jones too, who's flexible. Like, I mean, he can play anywhere in that back.
Apparently he played left back in that first game and he killed it.
Was looking good from what we hear. Like he kind of stepped up because Sammy wasn't cleared yet and like put in the work. So yeah, that's not ironically, left back is one of the harder positions to fill, and we've got an abundance there, which is weird. And again, just goes to point back to a really, really, really good offseason so far.
Also, just kind of shout out everybody in the comments. Keep Mowing Music. Thanks for commenting, man. Appreciate that. We appreciate you, and we're glad that you like the show. Shout out Steffan and Wealth, Crash the Cars, and Kevin. You guys are always the OGs. Appreciate you guys commenting and getting up early with DNVR Rapids. That's kind of all we really have on Aro. There's not much we can talk about him. We never even got to see him in a burgundy or blue kit at all. But kind of moving into that burgundy kit.
Speaking of kits,
you see that transition? You see what I did?
That's nice.
I'm getting better at this the more I do this. The leak.
We had a leak,
and we're not talking about our underpants. EAFC accidentally leaked. What was it? 16 or 18 kits?
Was 18, like
from the MLS, and only the MLS, really.
Yeah, you have as an MLS fan, you have a greater than 50% chance of your 2024 kit being leaked over the weekend. Most of you know already. If you didn't, to keep you up to speed, EA Sports FC 24 uploaded their new package or whatever on the Ultimate Team web app, and 18 of MLS 2024 clubs kits were leaked through there. Do we know if these are the exact kits? We don't know yet. It looks to be trending in there.
Yeah.
0 MLS clubs, Major League Soccer, EA Sports, none of them have put out a statement about the leak. It's been very, very quiet. And you would think that if they say, no, that's not it, these were just, for the game or whatever, somebody would have jumped out. So it's certainly trending in that direction. We don't know either way. We don't have any confirmation on what the Rapids 2024 kit looks like. So we're not going to get into designs on any of those. We have an awesome show coming up next month where we're going to deep dive into the new home kit for the Colorado Rapids, as well as other new kits that are coming out across the league. Kind of our thoughts on it, which ones, are home runs, which ones are terrible. If the leaks are true, I already know some of those, those terrible ones. So
I know you don't want to talk about the Rapids one, and that's fine.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it
because we have a whole show planned around it. But kind of looking at all the leaks, there's one that I really, really liked. Just real quick, one that I enjoyed.
Let's hear it.
Austin FC.
Austin, wow, because most people don't like that one.
I love the simplicity of it. I love how much the green pops on it with that white. It feels just nice to look at. It feels like a clean, classic, I'm going to get dirty kind of kit. You know what I mean? I used to love playing in like those lighter color kits, those white kits, those gray kits, because they showed my grass stains and it made me feel like such a badass. My mom hated it because they never came back out. But it was such a fun way to play, in my opinion. I just love the contrast, especially if you're playing against a team like Colorado, and you can tell exactly which team is which. I'm not a big fan of color on color when they're playing soccer. It kind of messes up the eye a little bit. There's too much going on. So I'm a huge fan of that white kit with that kind of green outline. I think it's really just nicely done.
I will say this. I agree with you. Everyone's hating on that shirt, and I'm like, I don't know. I kind of dig it. It's got a retro jam to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I don't want to get too much into
no, I just want to mention
we're gonna deep dive into the whole league.
Yeah.
But yeah, like first reaction, is there one that you really hate?
I didn't see all of them. And shout out PHLY, but I don't think I like that one. The Union one.
You don't like the Union one?
I think it's okay. I think it's fine. It's a home kit. It is what it is. I don't know if I like the design on it as much down the middle. It kind of threw me off a little bit, if I'm honest. But it's not a bad kit. But out of like just kind of like straight out of my mind, without looking at all of them, that's kind of the first one that just kind of pops into my head.
Mine, the one that there's a couple that I think are real stinkers. But one that I think, and I'll mention this one because I think a lot of people will probably like it, but I do not, and that's Seattle. Theirs is the one that's green with the blue stripes, with the skinnier green stripe in the middle of the blue stripes. All I see when I look at that is Bert and Ernie. Like, that's a shirt Bert and Ernie would wear. It looks somewhere between Bert and Ernie and like 1950s pajamas. Like, and
I kind of like it.
I think a lot of people will, and I think it's just real bad. I think it's all I think of.
I think it's gonna be one of those that when people wear it, it's gonna pop more than it does on screen.
It's gonna look better when you see the whole kit.
Exactly.
And that's the thing to remember with all these shirts. But yeah. Anyway,
I also hate the RSL one real quick. The mountains are ours. Give them back. You guys don't know the mountains. We do. F off.
I think that one looks.
Shut up, Duane. We hate ours.
I do, but
it's
a pretty good design.
It was a really good design.
We'd be happy with.
Yo, shout out all the designers that got to do this, by the way. And I know you have a little bit of thoughts on that. That like it's kind of sucks that all these people that work so hard on designing the kit, and then the people that work on revealing the kit don't get to do it their own way. It's not fair to them.
I know a lot of people like the leaks because it's something to talk about. You get a little preview. I hate leaks. I mentioned that on Twitter as well. Like, it's for me, it's exactly what you said. Like the folks working at social media and creative content at every club have been working for months, on their hype strategy to launch the new jerseys, right up to day of launches with cool videos and content. And to work that hard and put that many hours into doing the work, and then to have somebody who works for a video game screw that up for so many teams. I mean, 18 clubs times handful of people with each club. Like, that's a lot of people and a lot of hours really trying to make something cool for the fans and supporters of each team. And it's just a bummer. I feel for them, as someone who creates, I feel for them. So if the leaks are true and these are what the kits look like, still get excited, still enjoy the launch videos and graphics that all the clubs are doing, because that stuff's usually very, very creative. And you'll get a little insight into why design decisions were made and all of that stuff too. So don't forget to enjoy as we're trying to scoop each other with all of these kit leaks.
There's people putting in actual work on this. All right, that's kind of just news roundup a little bit. We're gonna get more in depth into more of roster building in a little bit as we go on, and we'll talk all the kits next week, right? We'll talk when they all get officially released.
Yep.
Not next week, but the week after. We'll get a little bit deeper. Duane has some really cool things planned, so keep an eye out for that.
You know what's crazy? Today is the last day before the season starts.
That's true.
The
Officially,
season starts in February, and tomorrow is February 1st.
I gotta go get my plates renewed.
That's how close.
You just reminded me I gotta get my plates renewed, so I should probably do that today. That is, time flies, especially in MLS.
Especially when you have a great off season of things happening.
Yeah, we don't have to like scrap for content every now and then. All right. So some of the people that are gonna be wearing this new kit got to play a game 2 days ago, I believe it was. And it was against Querétaro, an actual Liga MX team. Wasn't a second division team that just was clowning on social media. It was an actual legit team. Take that one, Morelia. It was an actual legit team, and they dominated. It was 5-1. 2 goals from Calvin Harris, a goal from Yapi. Galvan had a goal.
Galvan got a big shot from the outside.
Yeah, and then there was one more.
Cole.
Yeah. Mr. Gold Bassett gets back on the score sheet in preseason. Kind of looking at it, what are your knee-jerk reactions to the Rapids dominating in preseason? And we're going the other way. We did this last week with the loss, so it's only fair that we do it with the win.
Yeah, let's have crazy knee-jerk reactions. 4 different Rapids scored goals. That's
insane.
Incredible.
That's utterly insane.
That is the biggest thing. Like 4 different Rapids scored goals. Calvin Harris gets 2. That would be like enough goals for like 3 games last season, or more if you consider the 0-0 stretch that we had for many games
at home. Yeah, Grant.
Wow. Like, I mean, we were just praying for a goal in most games last season, and we get 5 from 4 different players. Incredible.
And Grant's right in the comments, saying preseason only counts if you look good.
That's right.
And that's exactly what happened.
And we looked good.
And it's incredible how you said 5 goals. There's not a game last year that I can think of that they even got close to 5 goals.
No.
Yet, not just the 5 goals, only conceding 1. Because they had 5 goals 2 years ago against Red Bull, but they conceded 4.
Yeah.
And that was the Yahya hype train, I remember.
And that was...
Yahya the player, not me.
That was the most roller coaster game.
Incredible. Fun
of
time.
Recent memory.
Fun time, but the Rapids don't score goals, and now they kind of did. Kind of looking at the goal scorers, the few clips that we saw Sammy with a great assist to Galvan on that goal. What are the players that you're most excited to see, and kind of what you heard out of preseason, and kind of like what just are your thoughts going through your head when you saw 5 goals?
I mean, obviously, I'm just excited for goals. I want goals, and we got goals.
I'm always down for a gold member.
Every time there was an
reference.
Update on Twitter from the club about a goal, I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like the first one happened, and then it was like another one, and then another, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Like, you know, I'm sending messages to Yaya. I'm like, "It's 3-0. It's 3-0." And you know, it's I don't know, man. Like, it just we are so. Whatever the equivalent of dehydration is for goals, that's where we've been for 2 years. So,
Drought?
Yeah. Gold drought. But it's, I mean, for me, I love seeing, you know, some of these midfielders get in, some of these wingers moving around, getting the ball into the net. You know, from that clip that we saw, it looked like Galvan was over on the right side, you know, and cutting across the middle, moving in there. So, and then, you know, turning and just from way, I don't know, it was just like a very quick shot. So here's my theory, and I told you this earlier with Galvan. Galvan has normal hair right now. And I'm telling you, Galvan with a regular haircut is infinitely more powerful than wacky hair Galvan. So we saw it. It's coming. I noticed the haircut immediately. Maybe Keegan got in there, shaped it up.
I'm sure he did. I think it's Keegan.
He's looking sharp, so it's could have some Keegan work in there. But I was excited to see him because we didn't know kind of where Galvan was going to be this year, and he's saying in preseason, I'm going to be scoring goals. So
it's captain, right? It's the captain taking care of his players, telling people like, "Hey guys, we need to be better this year." And it starts with looking good.
It starts with looking good. Preseason only counts if we look good.
Exactly.
Starts with the haircuts, Grant.
They took a full page out of Dion and like, you look good, you play good, and it really feels like that's what happened. One player I really, really want to talk about, and it's not who you think it is, because we will get to that in a minute. It's Calvin Harris.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan of Calvin Harris.
Me too.
Last year, I think he proved that he can either be a starter or a rotational piece on this Rapids team. And even with all the added pieces and Omir and Djordje Mihailovic, and you have Kevin Cabral and Gavon kind of trying to step up and be part of that rotation as well, I think Calvin has been a player that we've forgotten about. And I think it's the player that created the most at the end of last year with Frazier and with Chris Little at the helm.
Yep.
And if you look at his stats, and if I do a blind test, you won't believe how good he actually was compared to the rest of the forwards in the league, not just in the Rapids. And I think that's a player that the Rapids should kind of be focusing on grooming a little bit more, making him a better player, and try and make him part of that rotation, because I think him and Kimani Stewart-Baines, who also had an assist in the game, could be those next two guys up, with a Galvan maybe rotating back and forth between the left and the right wing, and maybe you can put him at a backup 10, like whenever Cole needs a break, maybe that's the guy that comes in, and there's going to have to be a lot of rotation, because we've talked about it in the past, is that this squad is going to have a congestion of games in the summer. So rotation is going to be so important. So finding key pieces like a Calvin and Gavon who can step up and be starters or play significant minutes in significant moments is going to be key for this team going forward. And they're still under contract, and Calvin Harris is a Generation Adidas player, so he's not even counting against the salary cap.
Love it.
So it's such a great fit for Calvin and this team. And I think we just kind of underestimated what he can become and where he can go. And I can even see him in the mold of a Kimani Stewart-Baines till the few years behind, where maybe he kind of picks up steam this year and next year. And maybe we're talking about a move to Europe, maybe not a top 5 league, but maybe he goes out to like Twente out in Netherlands in the lower leagues. Mm-hmm. Maybe he goes out to France and plays in the lower, like a Nantes too. Not huge, kind of right there. But that's the kind of mold of player that I think a lot of teams are looking at. Somebody that's speedy and has improved throughout his career. And I'm just so excited for what Calvin can bring, besides his DJ skills.
Yeah, I'm in on Calvin Harris since Media Day last year.
Oh.
I like what he had to say, at the beginning of 2023 at Media Day, and loved what he did last year. I was a little concerned when Gutman left, because that Gutman to Harris connection was so strong. But then Sammy Vines comes back, and I think that's an even stronger fit than Gutman. So I still think you have that really, really strong connection on the left. As far as this offense goes, I mean, you've heard Porg say it several times when these new players are introduced, whether it's the new guys from this year or guys like Calvin Harris last year, is that this is not a left winger or a right winger. Or a 9 or whatever. They're forwards. They can play a lot of different positions. So these are guys, when the schedule gets rough in June and July, that rotation is going to be easier for the Rapids because the players are so adaptable to both sides of the field and in the middle. That is a huge advantage for us in that we have forwards versus just very pigeonholed players in that offense. They were here last year too, the returning guys, and it didn't work out. But I think you saw those players being very much pigeonholed into just left wing or just right wing or wing back, or just, players were not being used in different ways. I think what you're going to see, one, because of the schedule, but two, because of the high press, that Armas is going to bring. Armas, I just made.
I was about to say Armas.
I just
love
made
that.
that sound very fancy. You're welcome, Chris.
He's a fancy person.
He's Armas, Coach Armas. With Chris Armas bringing in, it's going to feel different, and it's going to, I think, open up those forwards to being able to shift around from position to position and help out when needed.
Flexibility, baby. That's all the Rapids, especially last year when you had players that couldn't play more than one position. It's so helpful. Now, the other player that was the talk of the town, and apparently he has the whole train station named after him now, is Darren Yapi. He scored a goal, something that we didn't get to see all last year with the first team, and scored one very, very important one with Rapids too.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the Yapi hype train?
We are so back on Yapi.
Did we ever leave though?
I think we left a little bit. Like maybe we stepped off the train for a little bit, but
I think the train just wasn't working.
it wasn't. We stepped off because it was at the station. Man,
Djordje. Great reference from Joe Dirt. That's exactly what Duane sounded playing Armas.
That's great. I hope this is a season where Yapi's going to get in. Whatever that mental thing or that magical, mystical thing, whatever it is, I hope it gets broken early in the season. He gets, he opens his Rapids goal account and starts depositing. Because we kept seeing close, just missed goals towards the beginning of the season last year. Now we see kind of the preseason, like that first goal happens. We'll see how he looks the rest of the preseason. But man, how can you not be excited about Darren Yapi? Like this is our guy.
The one play I think about so much with Darren. With Yapi, it sounded weird calling him Darren. It felt like I was his
Darren.
It felt like I was his teacher. The one play I remember very clearly with Yapi last year was that one that he had right in front of goal, and it just like flew. He was like literally a foot away from goal with the ball, and it flew over the goal, and it ended up not even mattering because it was a penalty because they fouled. I think it was Gavon inside of the box right before the pass. And Gavon ended up doing the Paneka, and it was this whole thing. Shout out to Dick and Gavon. But that just kind of quantified what Yapi's season was. That even with in front of the goal, with the foot, like a foot in front of the goal with no goalkeeper, he still flew it over the net.
Yeah.
And I think excited.
There's just nerves there, man. And,
yeah, he's
and
an
Kevin
18-year-old
brings up
kid.
something that was in my head too. Like Yapi scored a lot of goals in preseason last year, which is why the train was running full steam. So yeah, but I'm fine with that. It's preseason. I'm ready for all the hype. So
and it's also like I put this out on Twitter. Be excited, man. It's sports. You're allowed to be excited about a player, especially in an 18, 19-year-old kid who didn't have a great year, but has all the potential in the world. And it's not coming just from the team. It's a national perspective. He's trained with Arsenal. People think that he can be the striker for the U.S. in a few years if nobody really steps up. So it's not hype that we're building because he's a Rapids player. It's hype that everybody has heard for a while. And you're allowed to be excited about Yapi. You're allowed to talk about who he can be because he's only 18, 19 years old. He played a lot of games last year, and it was his first time, I think, even breaking 500 minutes in a professional league. It's okay. Like, he can always break through, and it's going to be so much fun, and it's going to be something that we're gonna be. I think as Rapids fans, we're gonna look back at in maybe a year or two and be like, "Wow, that was Yapi's breakout season." Even if he only scores 5 goals, because I think those 5 goals is gonna give us a platform to jump off the train and say, "This train is running too wild. I can't be on this anymore."
And hopefully 2024 is that year when he really breaks out. Like, he would be the perfect breakout player for this season. Like, a striker that is what we need every year.
Exactly.
And so this would be the perfect breakout year for him. Man, I would be so excited if he just becomes lethal.
Yeah.
And it's preseason, baby. Like, just get pumped. We're at the top of the table right now for the 2024 season.
We're like in the middle because of the R. And it goes alphabetical order.
Nah, I don't do alphabetical orders. We are unbeaten in the 2024 season. We're leading the league
with hype.
With no losses and no draws on the season so far. So
we're also tied with 17 other teams.
Shh.
Oh, the Rapids are actually number 2 because they're going by state. Colorado. If we go by alphabetical
they're going
order.
by number 1 on the Duane scale.
That's
on the Duane table.
That's what we like to hear. Before we get into the big news of Lamine Diack, I have a lot of thoughts on that move and kind of how we should be taking a look at it. The MLS and the Rapids just announced their Leagues Cup schedule.
The group draw,
and who's coming to Colorado and who's gonna kind of move around. The Rapids' opponents for League Cups. Who do you think it is?
I don't know who do I think it is, but here's who I want it to be. I want RSL. I want to bounce them out of Leagues Cup. I want Mazatlan because they're my adopted team from the other league, from Liga MX. And then third, give me Miami. Let's bounce Messi out of it too.
You want to bounce Messi out of it?
Yeah, I want to bounce Messi out of it.
So you want you need to do it's 3.
I want all that smoke.
Yeah, but you get 2 teams in your group, remember?
I thought you got 3.
No, you get 2. And
okay.
So you need one Mexican club and one American
so
club.
Mazatlan and RSL.
Okay.
Give me those.
So the Rapids get to face Club León, the 2023 champions winner, CONCACAF champions winner, and the Portland Timbers.
Okay, well, those are 2 good teams.
They're going to be...
Timbers have done a lot of work in the offseason, much like the Rapids.
They're going to be a really fun team to face. I'm really excited for León to see if Fidel Ambriz is still with them. That's a young and upcoming defensive midfielder that I wish the Rapids would have targeted, but he might be out of their price because he's like 19 and he's being scouted by top 5 teams in top 5 leagues. So they've kind of changed it up this year. The way they've decided who's going to be in each group, it's going to be completely based off performance in 2023. And Timbers and Rapids were right there at the bottom of MLS. And Club León, even though they had a really good CONCACAF Champions League, they didn't have a great league run. And that's what they're basing it on. So it's going to be more competitive. So you're not going to get that crazy blowout with Toluca, who was a top-tier team against the bad team in Colorado Rapids.
Yeah.
But I think
it's safe to say all 3 of those teams, while they didn't finish well in Leagues Cup, have all... I mean, I can only speak to MLS clubs, but Portland and Rapids are going to be coming in with significantly better clubs than they had last season.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. And I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. Kind of instant reaction.
Who's going to win that group?
I won't be a total homer. I'm going to say the Rapids. I think the Rapids are going to win that group. And I just think Timbers are not deep enough. And I think Club León is still kind of on a downward fall. I think... Sorry. I talk too much and I cough. I just think Club León hasn't done enough yet, but it's something that they're looking at to still improve, and I think they're gonna be a really tough competition. I think they draw against León, and I think they beat Portland, and I think that's how they win the group with 4 points.
There you go. We'll get a preview of Leagues Cup in the opening match of the season versus Portland.
It's gonna be again, there you go. Once we beat them,
we'll see how we
just
stack up.
we'll make solid conclusions after the Rapids whoop them, and that's gonna be how we do that.
Love that.
Okay, so we've kind of looked at what's happened in the preseason. We saw Sam is back. And Tiff, could you bring up the depth chart for me real quick? Let's take a quick look at who's here. Navarro's gone. This is kind of what I feel the Rapids are going to be lined up as. 4-2-3-1. The reason I think this is Arma's favorite formation, the one that he's used throughout his career. It's also the Red Bulls' way of thinking, and that's the formation they use a lot. With this whole depth chart, there's one place that still needs a name, and it's that 6 that says new signing ? And we have rumors from Tommy Scoops, Tom Bogert himself from The Athletic, saying that Lamine Diack is probably coming to Colorado. A 6, 23 years old, Senegal international at U23 with a lot of potential. What are your first initial thoughts when you hear that name coming to the Rapids?
My first thought is ingrained as a Rapids fan. It's like, who the heck is this guy?
Yep.
Oh, no. It's a classic Porig signing of no one knows who this guy is, so he's a reclamation project. That was my first knee-jerk because it's so baked into my Rapids brain over the years of these types of signings. I quickly, now that I'm older and wiser in my Rapids fandom, balance that out with this offseason has been fantastic. If one of these signings from this offseason is more of a classic Porig signing, I'm down with that. But here's my hot take. If we sign him or don't sign him, he's probably not going to be the starter.
Yeah.
My hot take is that Jasper is going to be starting in that position. Like, he came over, and I know it was kind of like, oh, this is a depth piece. This is who we're bringing in. I'm not sold that he's a depth piece as he was originally being reported by, not from the club, but from everybody else. Like, I think he is going to be a legit starter. I think he's going to be a key piece to the Rapids midfield that we just don't realize yet because we've not watched him. Also, he came from a terrible place, and we've rescued him from that horrible place, and now he is in the sun of the Rapids kingdom.
He got out of the ghetto
and can prosper now. But I think Jasper is going to be the starter there. I know we're talking about Diack today, but I think there may be time for Diack, even if he comes in to where he might be coming in off the bench or getting those minutes in that weird June-July stretch. That is to say, I don't need to put a bunch of pressure on him to be the guy on day one, because I think Jasper already has those skills and is going to be able to contribute. So it's not as scary for me to bring in a guy that I don't know very much about.
The one thing I will say that I like that theory, I really do, but he's coming in on a loan with an option to buy.
Yeah.
So they're going to need to see if he's going to be a piece of it.
Yeah, he's going to have minutes.
And that's something that has been reported by Tom. It's not insider trading. We don't know anything else. That comes from Tom kind of saying that it's probably going to be a loan with an option to buy at the end of it. What if I told you I have higher hopes for him?
Great.
Than actually being a backup kind of guy. Because when I first heard this news, first thing that popped into my mind was, this is Anita Tavares, but defensive midfield. Lone guy that's been kind of jumping around, hasn't found the minutes. He has high potential kind of thing. But the more I looked into him and where he's coming from and what he's done, I've kind of grown to like him. I've grown to think that he's going to be a piece. And I know we've all looked at this in Super producer Tiff here in a minute is going to put up the foot mob rating that he has. But just taking a look at it, he is 23 years old. He plays center midfield, but he also plays defensive midfield. One thing I really like about this, and you'll see it in the chart to the right, is his goals, which means that he is a part of goals, and he's contributed. He's being part of the action. He's out there. He's pushing forward. In his defensive actions, they're in the 80th and 78th percentile. That means that he's really good at it. Only 20% of the players that play that position are better than him at it. So that means only like 4 or 5 in the French league or in the Turkish league where he played last year. And that's something really to be excited about, because that's something the Rapids were missing last year in that role. They didn't have a playmaker at the 6, whether it was Priso or Ronan. They had a guy, and they didn't have a defender in that position either. Ronan pushed up and was out of position a lot because that's not what he plays. He's not a true 6. So getting a guy that can be a contributor both offensively and defensively is exactly what the Rapids need to complete the squad. And this is playing at the Turkish league, which is a really high-level league out in Europe or Asia. I don't know where Turkey's at. I'm not I talk soccer, not geography. But it gets me excited. And the other thing I look at is his transfer cost. They bought originally the price to go from Turkey to Nantes out in France was $500K. He went to Nantes and was immediately put back on loan at the Turkish league. Well, at the Turkish league, he increased his value to $2 million, which means he did really good in the Turkish league. It means that people were valuing him higher and higher. And it means that the other teams are calling, which made his price go up because he had good performances. His average rating, I believe, was like a 7 or a 6.5. Now you're wondering, if he's so good, why is Nantes getting rid of him? If you look at the Nantes squad, they have really good players in Douglas Agosto, who's only 29 years old and is basically a key cog in that position. And then they also have a backup in Pedro Chirivella, who's also been killing it. So he's a surplus at that point for them. Why would they spend money on a guy that's not going to see any playing time and they can make some profit off of him?
It's true.
So when I look at this player, I look at him and I think it's a smart financial move who deep down I feel is an Arsenal move. With the new rules that you can loan players and transfer players between club and leagues if you own them, it feels like the Rapids are going to become a kind of, how do I put this, an incubator for a lot of young players that Arsenal wants to try out. And they're going to send them to the Rapids. And if it works out, they'll buy them, give them another year to curate and get more experience. And then they might send them out to Arsenal. I'm starting to get that feeling with all these moves that they do want to improve the Rapids, but they're also thinking bigger picture as an organization of KSE. And I'm just so excited for Diack. I think he's going to be a guy that, if you look at the tape, and Moth was asking if I've seen any tape, I've seen quite a bit of tape. He's really good under pressure. He finds the key pass, and he knows exactly how to get away from players and carry the ball into the attacking pitch. And that's something the Rapids were missing last year as well from that deep line playmaker. So when I see him, the biggest issues I have with him is that he's a little soft. He goes down very easily. But on the defensive end, he's very aggressive. So I think he's going to be the missing piece to the Rapids being either a home playoff team or not being a home playoff team.
All right.
And I know it's a lot to throw at you guys, but that's just kind of doing a little bit of a deeper dive and not just thinking Sidney Tavares. That's my take for the day. And that's what I thought originally about him. Hey, man,
You've done a lot more, research into him than I have. So that's good to hear from my standpoint. He was a guy that in a not deep dive, I was like, I can't find anything. It's always a clue to me as a designer. How hard is it to find photos of this player?
Yeah. Which I can
in
see.
case I need to make a graphic. And when it's hard to find photos, that is a little bit of a red flag because good players have a lot of photos. He wasn't at the bottom, on the Duane scale of whether or not this player is going to be good based on availability of photos. But he was a little below average on the photos, so that's where my worry came from.
At least it was nothing.
That's the dumbest scale possible, by the way, for evaluating talent.
I'm here for it.
But that's my scale that I use when I hear rumors for the Rapids.
I'm all for that scale, man. We need something simple because I'm done. I'm tired of having these deep breakdowns and having to look at stats and all the dumb things that people make me look at sometimes.
Just look at pictures.
Pictures is the easiest way. And the other thing about Diack, man, that I've kind of heard is that he's a competitor. He's one of those guys that just wants to win. And you see it out there on the pitch. You see it constantly. And I don't know, just when I look at him, he's tall. He's one of those guys that stands out on the pitch. But also when you look at a player like Diack that plays the six, it's really hard to evaluate him. That position's one of the hardest positions to evaluate in soccer because you never know if they're having a good game or a bad game unless you pay complete utter attention to them. Defensively, it's really hard to look at a player and be like, was he in the right position? Did he attack the right angle? But offensively, especially playing the six, did he carry the ball? Did he pass the ball to the right key? Because his pass is not as important as if the guy who he passed it to makes the next play. And that's where I look at him and I'm like, I think Diack has put all his teammates in the right position to make the right play, even if his teammates don't make the right play every time. And that's what gets me excited about him.
I love that, dude. I hope he's the guy. Because if so, that's one of the last pieces.
And that just continues the Rapids cooking, right? And this
kitchen has been busy.
This feels like this truly does feel like a Pori check, right? He's pulling up from half court at the logo and being like, I can sink this, dude. I've sunk four threes in a row. I got this.
He's on fire.
I love the NBA Jam reference. It's reference day today at the DNVR bar. Duane, before we move on into some mailbag and get into some deeper questions, any final thoughts on Lamine Diack or any other positions of need you think the Rapids should attack?
I'm going to keep saying it. I'm always worried about I'm always worried about striker until we have the guy.
But we got Yapi. What do you mean until we have the guy?
Showing me goals. So I still think that is our weakest spot on the club right now is at striker. We've got a guy on loan who's not scoring goals. We've got a young kid who scores goals in the preseason, but maybe not so much during the regular season. So I need those guys to find the gold, and make that happen in the season. And I still think that's possible with both Navajo and Yapi. I think either of them could have a breakout season this year, especially with the new way that we're going to be using the wingers and midfielders. But that's until we see goals happening. That's always going to be my area of worry for the Colorado Rapids.
Yeah, I can see that. I would also like them to get deeper in the midfield, if I'm honest, and maybe one more center back.
Sure.
I think I've talked about this. I think Lawless is great. Lawless is dope. And I think as a backup, he'll be great as a rotation piece.
Yep.
If you want to give a guy like Nate Jones some run, I'm down for that. I just like a little bit more experience. I'd like a veteran in that back part of that back four. They can kind of like Beta Shore. They can kind of move from right back, left back, center back. Just somebody you can move around if you just need somebody reliable to be back there. But I'm also down just to kind of let the kids do their thing. You got Abubakar Keita, who's training out in Germany right now. He's still kind of recovering from some injuries, what I've heard. You also have Nate Jones and Michael Edwards, which I think this year either it's make or break for Michael Edwards. Either you break into the rotation or you just are kind of out of that MLS, or maybe you find a spot with a lower league team like USL or something. So I think Michael Edwards is one of those guys. But besides that, I think this squad is going to be pretty much set.
Yep.
And just midfield, because I'd like somebody to come in and kind of help Ronan out a little bit when he needs help. I know we have Galvan that can play the 10, but I also would like just one more player, the same thing that can just kind of rotate around. Maybe that's Ollie LaRosse, right? Maybe it's Ollie and they just give him the reins and you're like, yo, you're going to be our Ronin, ginger for ginger, and see if they can create anything. Duane, do you want to tell the people about Bet365 before we get going?
I do want to tell you about Bet365. We've got an awesome promo. I've mentioned it on the show before with Bet365, one of our awesome partners here at DNVR. Here's the deal. Download the app. When you're putting in your information, you want to put in the code DNVR365. When you do that, it's going to start your account, and then you deposit $10. Okay? Now, from there, you can do whatever you want with your $10. Make your first bet. After that, you're going to get $150 for free, and you're going to take a screenshot that you put in that $10, and you're going to email that to us. You'll see the directions on, I think it's promo at, I don't know. It's down there in the notes.
It's somewhere.
It's there. But you're going to send an email to our merch department, and you're going to get a free DNVR t-shirt of your choice. So for only $10, you're going to get a $30+ t-shirt plus $150 in free money with Bet365. So I am new to that world, but I went through it. I downloaded the app. I made my first bet. I lost my first bet, and then I got $150 for losing. With a t-shirt. So really that's you're a smoking winning deal. So to speak to Kevin, if I would have put my $10 on the Rapids to win the chip, it's just over $1,500 payout. That's true, except that I put $20 with my free $150 on it, which would be a $2,000 payout. Yeah, that's what I took my free money and put it on the Rapids to win it all, because they're at plus 10,000 right now, which is bananas. So when you got free money, you just put it on crazy bets like that, and then let the Rapids bring that sweet, sweet money your way when they win the championship, when they win that MLS Cup. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be great, and I'm gonna it's in the bag. I'm gonna cry, and you are gonna have to see a grown man cry on stream. So congratulations, you played yourself. I'm ready to see Yahir cry. Yeah. So congratulations. Congratulations to the Rapids and myself. All right, guys, we put a mailbag out this week, and we got a few really good questions. I say a few because some of you guys suck. I'm playing with you. Love all of you. Love every single one of you. I'm playing. And I'm going to start it off with Mark Weatherly, who's in the comments. He has two questions for us. Number one, are the Rapids done in this window with pending acquisitions of Diack? Two, how long will it be once the season starts before we get a sense of how good or not this team is? What players are in battles for starting spots? Which one do you want to hit first? We'll hit the number one. Order. Yeah, the Diack. Do you think any more acquisition? Do you think the Rapids are done after Diack? I think we're done. There could be a small signing maybe, but it would be a depth piece. But I think the all of the flash and glamour of the big signings that we've made have happened. Yep. This defensive midfielder that rumors that we're seeing, if that happens, that will probably kind of be the last of the off-season signings, if not one of the last. But I don't expect any more splashy signings. No. I think maybe if anything, some trade or a trade. If opportunity comes knocking, then we'll take advantage of it. Depth, so there's depth to play with. And again, you got to see what you have, and I think that's what the summer window's for. You kind of take the first half to see what you have. Second half, if you need to add, remove, or do anything crazy, that's where you do it. Could bring in some of that sweet gam. Exactly. But besides adding anything crazy, I think they're pretty much done. Besides Diack, how long would you give this team to get a sense if they're good or not? Game one. Really? I think that we're going to see a marked difference in game one this year from last year. You remember game one last year? We had a watch along, me, you, and Mitch up here watching the game, or down in the bar actually, and it was miserable. We got our butts kicked in the season opener at Seattle. I don't expect that to happen again. And so I think, are we going to win or lose? I don't know. But I think you will be able to see the Chris Armas strategy and formation at play, which is different than what we've seen last year. So I think this is just my opinion. I think we will start to see those changes in game one. Can we put out whether or not this team is good or not? I mean, I think you get a quarter through the season is like the most realistic. How do we look a quarter of the season in? How's the team gelling? Because again, these are a lot of new guys coming in.
Yeah.
Like, I don't expect us to be like world beaters right away, but I do expect to see the Colorado Rapids will look different on game one.
Yeah, I think it's 10. I think it's 10 games. I started this last year. I think 10 is a good barometer.
Yeah, I think that's very realistic.
10, I think you kind of get the team settled. It takes about a month to get the team settled into the season. Just from talking to players, that's kind of how they feel. So I think 10 games, it's realistic. And I think after that, you should be pretty much know where this team is heading. Again, there could be massive improvement or a massive as the year goes on. But I think around 10 games, you kind of get a sense of what direction the team's going to go.
Yeah, and you'll know kind of what the rotations are going to look by then, like who's going to be the regular starters versus off the bench guys.
Yeah.
Things will be more solidified.
All right, so let's kind of speed run a little bit of these a little bit more. And real quick, drop a like, subscribe. Half of you still are not subscribed. We'd really appreciate if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, give us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify or anywhere you hear this podcast. We really appreciate it. It helps the bot grow, and it helps us be the biggest Rapids pod that we can be. It's like eating our vitamins, right? And then final, real quick, what players are in battle starting positions? For starting positions, I don't think any. I think every position is pretty much solidified, if I'm honest.
Except for that one we just talked
about.
Except
for 6. But that's like, we just kind of went in depth into it.
Yeah.
So there's no real reason to
I think the depth chart, if you go back on Twitter, we'll post it again later today. Take a look. I think that's who your starters are.
Yeah, I think they brought in a lot of those guys for that reason.
Yeah.
B-Ray coming in with best snow day meal, chili or soup?
Game day meal?
No, snow day meal.
Oh, snow day meal.
Chili or soup?
It's chili.
What kind of chili?
It doesn't matter.
Green chili.
Soup's for when you're sick.
Yeah,
it has to be green chili, and Tip agrees. So absolutely. I'm right on this one.
Yeah, I'm a friend of all the chilies.
I'm not. I don't like red chili.
I love it. Green chili, red chili, whatever.
Brown chili.
Do I look like a guy who's going to turn down some chili?
Who says no to chili? So. Dustin, using European leagues as a barometer, where would you slot this Rapids roster?
Championship league.
For
Premier League. So second tier.
Oh, all right. So mid-table championship?
I think the top teams are, mid-top tier. I think when you look at the last 2 seasons, like an LAFC could compete mid-table for, I think they're up there with Wolves or, Villa.
Okay.
I think the top of MLS could compete mid-table, top tier, but I think MLS in general would compete pretty well
in the championship.
Yeah.
I'd kind of agree. I'd kind of give them that mid to lower table though in the championship, if I'm honest. But if I'm just looking around, that's not England. I'd probably say lower tier Portuguese team, mid to top, like that kind of like mid to top tier Portuguese. I think is pretty fair.
Sure.
That's where I put them. I think this one's pretty easy. What's one road game you hope to see the Rapids come out on top of? I think there's 2, and that's RSL and Miami.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much.
I want to smash both of those teams.
Exactly. And I know where Duane's mind is on this. Like, I know exactly where it comes from. All right. As time passes and roster settles into preseason as a squad, is it less likely we see any more moves, even with speculation of adding a 6? We kind of got into it. This is from Kyle, the Baron of Pizza. We kind of both agree. I don't think there's a lot more moves coming in.
Yeah.
We kind of think that this kind of roster's kind of set and ready to go. And I'm all for it. I think there's a good roster. At the end of the day, it's a roster that's going to give us competitive games, and we're going to have a lot of fun with this year.
Yeah. It may be a little bit of a roller coaster at the beginning, but I mean, half of the squad is brand new, so we'll see.
Yeah, and
They sure looked good Monday though.
Yeah, of course, and that's why I'm all for it. I think they'll be fine. If we start the game tomorrow, I think there's a good time for many Rapids fans. Two more quick ones. One more from Mark Weatherly again. With the pending acquisition of Diack, are the Rapids done this? Oh, it's the same one. I think we're done then. We're done. He just asked it twice on 2 posts, which is all cool, Mark. We appreciate you. We appreciate the interaction. Any final thoughts?
Man, this offseason rules.
Yeah, we have so much content, which is so great.
What a fun, after the last 2 seasons, what a fun offseason to talk. The good news is tomorrow is February. February is the start of MLS regular season. It's coming. We are mere weeks away. In that time, we've got the kit drop is happening. Whether or not the leak is the jersey or not, we don't know what the rest of the kit looks like, what it looks like on a person. We're going to be able to see that. We're going to talk more about that. We've got the Rapids have the season kickoff party the Wednesday after that.
Yeah.
It's the 23rd, I think. So kit drops on February 15th.
16th.
16th. And then I think the 23rd is the Wednesday after that season kickoff party. It's going to be downtown. It's going to be awesome. And then boom, it's go time.
Yeah, it's a fun time to be a Rapids fan.
Yeah, it's
a
so
great
much
time to
fun.
be a Rapids fan. I expect the Lamine Diack move to come in today because it's the end of the window and they need to get all the transfer stuff ready and kind of settled. For that one reason.
There's a new question that just came in.
If it's, I would feel great. I don't know about Duane.
How would I feel if we hired Jurgen Klopp? So I'm not the biggest Jurgen Klopp guy.
I love Jurgen Klopp. His tactics are incredible.
I both love him and hate him at the same time. I love him when he says funny things, and I hate him when he's whiny because he's a have. And when something bad happens versus a have-not, he cries about it. But you know where I'd like to see him?
Wolves?
No. U.S. men's national team.
Ugh,
I would love that. I would love that so much.
Bury me right now.
I'm also convinced that he has only 2 teeth. He has one big tooth at the top and one big tooth at the bottom, and they just have ridges that look like individual teeth.
Because they're perfect. That's why.
Just 2 big, giant, perfect teeth.
It's crazy.
Bet you didn't expect that from a Jurgen Klopp question.
All right, guys. We really appreciate you guys. It's the end of the show because we're running out of time here. Don't forget, give this video a like. Interact with us on Twitter. We really appreciate that. We put a really cool Mount Rushmore graphic. I say really cool because I'm the one that made it. Give us a like on this. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really, really appreciate that. Give us a 5-star review wherever you hear this pod. It just helps the pod grow. It helps us get bigger and better guests every time. Stay tuned for next week with hopefully we have some really cool people come in, stop by the show. That's a little teaser for y'all. Anything else, Duane?
Just one thing.
And we know how we like to do it. You know what that is?
I do.
All right.
All
right, bye guys. All right, like we like to end every show, up the PIDs.
We all silly like the mayor.